Welcome everyone. Once again, we're back, Megan. Back for
Yes,
another live episode of the Transatlantic Takedown. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just want to thank all of those who tuned in last week, leading up to
Definitely.
Backlash, and for those who will be tuning in today, to hear me and my co-host bicker about different topics, as well as pay tribute to the late great Sabu, who had passed away this week.
Yes, indeed.
Um, and of
Yeah.
course, just talk about other things wrestling related.
Yeah, as always, we try and cover all the main hot topics, and there's nothing really, I suppose, as hot like you mentioned this past weekend. The sad news of the legendary Sabu taken well before his time. As we know, Sabu was a pioneer of extreme wrestling, hardcore wrestling. Did so much for the business. Broke down barriers for many people that followed in his footsteps. I think, we think of the legendary rivalry he had with RVD, some of the top matches that he had, like against the likes of Terry Funk, way back in 1997. I know from a personal standpoint, when I was young, like the only way we'd get to see Sabu was on old like VHS tapes
Hmm.
and maybe late night viewings on TV, which were kind of, it felt like it was forbidden at the time. What we were witnessing then was a different type of wrestling, and I don't know about you, Megan, when you first kind of got to see Sabu, what memories you have.
Mm. Um, I think for anybody who have heard my story on wrestling growing up, I missed out on watching ECW a lot as a child because ECW was very
Violent.
it
Yeah.
was, and my mom, she was just not having it. Of course, there was different, scenarios when it came down to WWF, WWE, that she was not in agreement to, and in agreement to us watching. But ECW was very much more um real. It was more in your face. It was a lot more gory.
Yeah.
And my mom, she just wasn't here for it. Now, if you could find a way to like sneak around and watch it, um, like
Like
I'm
how I did
probably,
it.
yeah, like I'm probably dating myself, but there was definitely different little cable access channels at one point that you could catch some of the little backyard wrestling um
Yeah.
shows and stuff. It would be about in the late of the night, so you kind of had to sneak out of bed to see it. But it was that's really the time when you got to see some of those type of matches. But
Definitely.
um
There's been a lot of tributes pouring in all week, various different places. I mean, rightly so. The man, as we said, was a true pioneer. He was quiet too. Like he didn't do an awful lot of talking. He just let his actions, I guess, do the talking for him. And yeah, I suppose to me, he had this kind of a mythical status, in some ways, and like that, he just gave back in so many ways too. But just the way he put his body on the line, and even up until like the times he was in WWE, and even up until a few weeks ago, he was still competing at the ripe old age of 60, which is sad to see in a way. I think too, when you see somebody still having to step in the ring at that age, But
yeah.
um, yeah, and then there is a little bit. I know you were talking to me before we came on. There's a little bit of controversy. There seems to be around around what happened there, but I don't know. It's
Yeah, well, to not necessarily make a long story longer, but Joey Janelli, who was, the wrestler that Sabu had his last match against, his retirement match against, he had an interview with, let me get the name right, Phil Schneider of the Yahoo's Uncrowned, Ariel Helawani's uh, website.
oh
And
yes,
he pretty much just spoke about leading up to the last match. And I'm not going to paraphrase because I don't want to misconstrue what he said. So I would just read briefly what he did say, which was um, he said, I was fairly confident that he was fine. I was kept in contact with him, and he has a team of people around him, guys, this time. They were all saying that he was ready to go, that he was going to be at the gym, that he was on a training program. I believed them until the day of the show. Then 2 hours before, I got a call, Sabu can't walk. He said, what do you mean Sabu can't walk? They said, yes, Sabu said with his knee, they're locked up. He can't walk and his feet are bleeding. He's not coming. Sabu's not coming. Um, and pretty much after that, you could, he kind of expressed that he was freaking out
mm,
over it because I guess at some point there was a match that Sabu had called out on, or he wasn't able to participate in. And so, he felt like that was going to be something that was going to happen again.
yeah,
And, he felt like, this happened before. We can't let this happen again. This is his retirement match. He has to be there. And overall, he was able to participate in the match. Um, he
yeah.
did
Well,
receive uh, medication that had helped him uh, at least function for the most part of the match. But
yeah. Well, I suppose how I'd look at that, he's 60 years old. He's put his body through an awful lot in his career, and I think anybody that gets to that age with the level of abuse, he's given to his body for the industry and for the fans, is going to need some type of help somewhere. But like I said there earlier, I just think it's quite sad when somebody gets to that age and they still feel they need to compete. And it kind of shows you then in some of the links that were shared. I think there's a GoFundMe set up for funeral expenses and things like that. So that kind of shows you, he possibly still had to continue, still felt the need to compete to make a living, and it is very sad, I think, when it gets to that stage, because some of the wrestlers don't have to do that. They've made enough from it, from the business and that. But yeah,
right. Well, of course, there was a lot of backlash from the interview. A
mm,
lot of people felt like maybe he shouldn't have been um, encouraged to do the match. A lot of people do want to hold GCW responsible for that. Um, and in my humblest of opinion, I do feel that, like what everyone else said, you could not hold anything against him and make him do anything he didn't want to do.
yeah,
Um, it was ultimately something that he wanted to do. He wanted to participate in that match, and it seems as though he needed just a little assistance in being
yeah,
able to function um, in that match. I got to see part of it. Actually, the last time I got to see Sabu was at the GCW show here
mm,
at the Hammerstein Ballroom back in January, which was when the retirement match was announced. And, you know, he even then, that night, he looked so fragile.
Yeah.
So fragile, such a small guy. And no one would have expected for him to go so soon after his retirement match. But, you know, I I think with any wrestler who loves the business, to be able to say that they had their retirement match and it
Yeah.
went the way that they wanted it to, I think a lot of them would probably that's the way that they would want to leave the world, doing what they
Yeah,
love.
certainly. But if we look back at some of the matches, like the most notable matches of Sabu's career, like he had a match against Terry Funk and Shane Douglas at ECW the night the line was crossed in 1994. And then Terry Funk in ECW's Born to Be Wired in 1997. He had a rivalry, of course, with Taz. They had a match, ECW Barely Legal 97 as well. That was the culmination of a long build up where Sabu and Taz were kept apart for months. Um, and I think it was ECW's first ever pay per view as well. So, Sabu and Cactus Jack, ECW Hardcore Heaven 1994. Like these are serious matches in the history of extreme wrestling. Then against Rob Van Dam, he had multiple matches, of course, there, and the Sandman. There was the Barbed Wire Massacre, TNA Turning Point 2005 versus Abyss. Matches against Rey Mysterio. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, it's crazy. I think I saw a clip there. I remember taking on John Cena and a clip that was widely shared, of course, throughout the week, where he came off the ropes out onto the commentary table and went through that on top of John Cena. Mental stuff. And yeah, he just delighted so many fans, and so everybody will have their own special memories of him.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, for those who are interested in donating towards the fundraiser, I have added it to the comments. You know, anything that you can donate, I'm sure will be uh, grateful or appreciated by those who are putting it together and wanting it to wanting to send him off with a proper farewell. So that is the link. Of course, it's in the comments. And yeah,
Yeah, just
and rest in peace to Sabu,
thank
a
you,
legend
Sabu. Yeah,
in his own right.
yeah, definitely.
So also this weekend we had
We
Backlash. We
did.
had Backlash. Gotta be honest, pay-per-view was ass.
You think so?
It was boring. It was
Oh,
boring.
here we go. Are we starting this early? Are we gonna kick off here?
It was boring. It
I
was. I mean, Backlash last year was boring too. I don't know. I feel like the last good Backlash was
back,
probably 2023 with Bad Bunny.
you're saying Backlash in France last year was no good.
I didn't like it. You had some highlights, just like you had highlights at
Like the
this one.
crowd was insane in France last year. Like the crowd pissed all over the US crowd, like in terms of energy
They
and
do,
excitement.
they do. But the Cody and the AJ Styles match, I thought was boring.
Well, that was a filler match because Cody had just won or finished his story, and they didn't really have anybody lined up as a rivalry. And
Yeah,
AJ, being the consummate professional that he is, will you step in here and fill a gap, with Cody? And he did a job like that he was asked to do, but there was no time to build out that story at the time. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's last year.
No,
That's
I mean, I don't blame the wrestlers. The wrestlers are going to do exactly. They're going to do their job.
booking is a bit shit at the minute, isn't
This
it?
is the booking. This is the booking and the writing. The booking and the writing. Like Raw. Raw is a 3 hour show or a 2.5 hour show. No excuse for there to only be one women's match.
Yeah,
One women's match.
I will agree with you, and I don't know what the story is with all the ad breaks because they have enough advertisement now on the mat of the ring,
Yes.
and that horrible prime that Randy Orton doesn't like.
I've tried it. It's not great. It's
Yeah,
not great. It's not great. I wanted to see, I didn't want to like pass judgment on it. I wanted to try it. It's not spectacular in any sense. It does. It's not. It, it
is it
doesn't.
expensive? Is it expensive? We don't really get much
Um.
time here.
No, I think it's about $2 here. Like maybe
Wow,
about $2, $3.
flavor of
Um,
water, really,
not
isn't
worth
it?
the money. Just get a nice bottle of water. So much better. So much
Full of
healthier.
electrolytes, no? Does it have all that stuff in it?
You have a better bet at drinking a Red Bull. You have a better bet. But yes, let's get down to Backlash.
All right. So you said it was ass, to quote you.
It
Um,
was.
let's start off with we had the fatal four: Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and LA Knight, and a surprise appearance by Solo and Jeff Cobb as well,
Yes.
making their first
Yes.
appearance.
It was a very welcoming surprise,
But the crowd,
for his,
there was no pop from the crowd for him, for Cobb.
I don't I don't I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why not.
Did they,
Like
did they recognize him? Like this is the thing. Like I don't know.
um could have been that. It could have been the fact that they didn't recognize him. Maybe it was the fact that there was just a lot going on at the time. It just wasn't the best time to debut him because we have like these four heavyweights, like each of these men carry their own weight
Yeah,
when it comes down to the match. Damien, Drew, LA Knight, and Jacob being the champion. There was a lot going on with that match. So for Jeff to come and kind of help um Jacob win the title or keep the title,
yeah.
it just seemed like it was way too much going on for people to really acknowledge the fact that Jeff has finally debuted.
Yeah, it was a little busy, and it wasn't the most free flowing match, and then we had the spot with Drew and Damian Priest. And I think the stories were going around that Drew missed the table and actually hit his head on the concrete and was taken away for some treatment or something afterwards. And it kind of took those guys out of it. And left just LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, and we knew what the outcome was going to be. In fairness, I think everybody expected Jacob Fatu to retain, and it's just the fact Solo showed up, and Jeff and Fatu wasn't too pleased about it either. So it's kind of setting the scene there for what's going to come, I think. Um, but yeah, there was no surprise with that match at all, and like I say, it
No,
was a little bit subdued. The whole first appearance for Jeff Cobb, I just thought there'd be a bit more made of it, and even
right.
the commentary team were a little bit flat, also.
It was, look, I like Wade. However, I do
I
miss
do think
the
he was really good though overall on the night.
he was, but I miss the dynamics between Michael and Corey.
Mm.
And I still feel like Corey is being punished in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not saying that it's necessarily true. It just feels like that to me, because as many times as Corey was either the second head or the third head when it came down to commentary, they just plop them on NXT and they just keep them there.
Yeah.
When he was a second chair for a long time. So it
Okay.
feels like he has been sat in a corner. That's what it feels like to me. Like he has been sat in a corner or he's on timeout. And
Do you still think there's a story there in that? Because when he was demoted at the time, he was very active on X or Twitter with
yeah,
his tweets. So maybe there is some long game there, some long term story they're going to come back to.
I think I do feel like, well, I don't know if that was necessarily that, or if it was just a man that was really expressing his true feelings about
Mm.
being. It never
Yeah,
fails. Every time we do a stream, it never fails. I
yeah,
think he
I
just
just
feels overlooked.
yeah, but I'd find it strange that he'd while still under contract, like he'd be coming out and saying those things on Twitter, you know. But I know they're very guarded over what they have their
Um,
employees putting up.
no, I don't think so. He said it. He ended up taking it down, and then he came on TV, and he didn't necessarily apologize, but he said he was happy where he was. It kind of gave, Corey blink twice if you are being threatened. That's just kind of what it gave. So,
Mm,
um, you know,
okay, interesting stuff. Um, well, let's get to the women's intercontinental championship match. This was my one of my favorites of the night, of course, because a lot of interest to two Irish ladies. I think this was a banger of a match.
yeah, you and Triple H both agree.
Do you not think so?
It was a good match.
You
I
can't
don't know
tell
if,
me this wasn't a
well,
banger.
it was a good match. It's just when Triple H said that this was the best women's match I've seen in a long time, I thought, okay.
The women's triple threat at WrestleMania was an excellent match. It was fantastic, but it was a different kind of match. Do you know? Like this would it been a triple threat, of course, anyway. But I do think this one was really, really top notch, and that's not just being biased over them being Irish ladies. I think we saw a different side. Like Lyra has been questioned for quite some time. I'm really getting tired of a lot of people online. You know, they're saying like they're getting nasty with some of the things they're saying,
Right.
which I don't agree with. Because she is there on pure merit. There's no two ways about it. Um, they're talking about she needs character work. She needs to work on her promos and her this and her that and whatever. As far as it comes down to in ring, like she's top notch, you know, and I think this match showed that. Um, do you still think Becky's holding back in some way? You were saying that last week that you feel.
It still kind of gives that.
I actually thought
Even
Becky would
during
win this, but
it was like even during the match, it still felt like this is not the Becky that I've seen fight
mm,
Bianca. This is not the Becky that I've seen fight, Charlotte. This is not the Becky that I've seen beat down Bailey. Like we've seen Becky be relentless. We've seen her be ruthless. We've seen her be brutal. Like she has definitely shown that she can be just as dark and just as aggressive as her husband, as Seth can.
hmm
Um, did not see that in this match. Maybe
One
it's a
thing,
build up.
one
Maybe
thing we
it's
did see was Lyra, her fiance, in the front row,
yes.
and there was a lot of nasty crap online afterwards about him, and it's quite funny. This is the dark side of the IWC, the internet wrestling community. I think at times, um, based purely on his appearance, there was a lot of different things tweeted, and obviously people that don't know who he is, and that's
Right.
fair enough too, because he's quite the accomplished wrestler, LJ Cleary,
Yes.
in his own right. He's he's wrestled in Japan for quite some time. He's actually based in the US now at the moment, so he's available over there. We'll get to it later on. Another bit of news about him, but he's probably one of the most talented wrestlers to come out of Ireland in many years, and I don't think that's the last we'll see of him on WWE TV. So a lot of those people that were tweeting these things will be falling over themselves further down the
Yeah.
line to get their picture taken with him, I think, or get an autograph or something. So yeah,
I mean, that's just that's just how IWC is. Um,
yeah, it's the
Honestly,
bad
I
side of it.
didn't see anything bad with him. He looked like he was chilling. He looked like he was having a good time watching his fiance, excuse me. Um, her match against her
Yeah,
idol, her mentor. Um, he wasn't getting dressed to go to walk down a red carpet. He was dressed comfortable. He was dressed to go to a wrestling show. Um,
that's it.
it's just easy to type on the computer. It's
Look,
always easy to talk
that
down
just
or
tells you
talk
more
about.
about the person that's commenting or typing than it does about anybody else. I mean, you can just you can you know come to your own conclusions about what's happening there. Anyway, but
Yes, yes,
overall, that was a great match, I thought.
and yes,
And
and
I
Miss
don't.
Lyra retained.
Yeah, I actually thought Becky was going to win that, and maybe there would be some interference from Bailey or some kind of thing going on, but no, it wasn't. It was a clean win. Makes you wonder then: is that it finished and done, or is it going to continue?
Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably
because
not done.
yeah, I know Becky's been looking for other people to come out and challenge her and so on, but it remains to be seen. Anyway, we had a match I thought was really poor. Was Dominic Mysterio and Penta. I just I didn't really think it was great or as good as it could have been.
Um, at some point, I want to know what is this El Grande Americano character?
Who is he?
What are we doing with that? Because we have the timing of it is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
WWE has acquired Triple A. You have pushed. If we think about the Hispanic champions, you have given Dominique a title. You have given Zelina a title. You
Yeah.
have given Stephanie Valkyr a title. And
But yet
now you have this
Triple A.
character, this El
Yeah.
Grande Americano that we clearly know is Chad Gable, a white man,
Is it?
playing a lucha wrestler. Um, and it's just where is what is the end goal to this
Well,
character? Like where are we going with him?
I think it's been more of a success than they expected it to be. I think the fans have come on board, like just from being over there for Mania and everything. Like there was a great buzz around when El Grande Americano came out, you know, and he's at any stage, there was a lot of buzz around, and I think they might have done it as kind of a joke at first, or you know, parody or whatever. But they've gotten more out of it than they expected, and that's why they're dragging it on. You know, because if they see money or anything like that, they're going to keep running with it. But like you say, where you know maybe it's causing a bit of a problem for them now for creative because they don't really know what to do.
Yeah, like where I don't know. I'm just, it's fun to watch, sure.
Yeah,
Um,
but it will get
but it's
tiring.
like,
It will get
yeah,
tiring.
it's giving some of Vince's old ideas.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it's giving. It's giving good old Vince.
But
Um,
I think it ruined what could have been a much better match between Dominic and Penta. And it kind of spoiled it in a way. And I don't know what way it's setting this up because yeah, like I say, it's something that took off that they hadn't really planned, and now it's maybe is going to blow up in their face because the creative are not going to know what to do with it. I don't know.
I have no idea. When they first started it off, we thought that maybe it was going to be an introduction to Ray Phoenix,
Mm,
but it wasn't. Like we knew it when he first started portraying the character. We knew even then because they never hid that Penta was coming. Like we've got clear indication that he was coming.
right.
But it kind of hinted that maybe the lucha that he was going around the world to find was probably going to be Ray Phoenix, and it wasn't. It's himself. So I don't know. Uh, always love watching uh Penta Penta in matches.
Hmm.
Started to really enjoy Dominique in matches too. Um, I
Yeah,
guess
well,
the
Dominic
I
is definitely over with the crowd. There's no doubt in
yeah
that.
yeah I guess it's kind of like what I suspected was going to happen. That Finn was going to ultimately try to interfere in the match. It didn't necessarily play out the way I thought it would, which was I thought maybe Finn was going to do something trying to cause Dominique the title, but ultimately,
Yeah.
mess up Penta in a way. That's where Chad Gable came in. But, um, you
But I do
know,
think they're also dragging this Judgment Day breakup out way too much too.
because they probably wait for Liv. And because
Yeah.
Liv is away filming this movie, um, they you still need her. She's pretty much the beginning of the end. So you still need her as a part of it. And yeah, you're gonna have to drag it out as much as you can until she come, and then more than likely it will get wrapped up. But all I can say with Finn is, friends with friends like that. Who needs enemies?
Very
He
true.
literally could burn a hole in the back of Dominique's head. He is not a fan of him having that title. Such a
That's
hater. Such an absolute hater. Worst kind of friend.
He's a
Worst
great
kind of
man. He's a great man. And
friend.
the Iron Lung there beside him, JD McDonough, fantastic.
JD look like he getting fed up with Finn too.
But the next match, Gunter and McAfee, Pat
A
McAfee.
waste. An
I
absolute waste.
well, I enjoyed that more than I expected to. Like I thought that would be a real squash match.
What was it about? What hater? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Finn is a hater, but um, it was a comment I'm responding to. But look, we like Finn here. I mean, Finn. But we got to remember, Finn works on he works on patterns. Okay, this is the same man that helped kick Edge out of Judgment Day, a group that he
Yeah.
created. This is the same man that helped get rid of Damien and Rhea. Yeah, got rid of them. So, just, yeah, like, and he's not a good guy. But before he thinks he's going to kick anybody out of Judgment Day, he's the one that's going to get kicked out first. I believe it. Absolutely. I think Finn is he's definitely up out of there. But as if for um this match with Gunther and Pat McAfee.
Mm.
Yeah, it felt like a waste of a match. Honestly. It did. Like you
Um,
said, it wasn't a complete squash match,
no, it wasn't.
but did anyone really expect Pat to win? No. Did we expect somebody to come possibly during the match?
I think
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they were playing off, the expectations. But there was a moment when you felt, they were kind of making you believe, Jesus, maybe McAfee is going to do something here. Um, he put up quite a fight to Gunther, but yeah, then at the end, I just found it a bit strange, the show of respect from Gunther after the savage beating that he dished out the week before. It didn't seem to. It's like it's opening it up for like a face turn of some sort at some stage with Gunther. I don't know.
What,
It's a bit weird.
Gunther?
Yeah, it was just a bit
Um,
weird to see that.
it it gave that until he pretty much threatened Jay Uso again. So
Mm,
um I feel like they just don't know what to do with him.
yeah,
Like he lost the title to Jay, and then you put him in this feud with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. He
yeah,
beats Pat, and then come that Monday, he's challenging Jay for the title again, which is
that's
what should
another.
have happened. That should have been the first thing. He's entitled to a rematch. That should have been the first thing. But instead, you have somehow slid Logan Paul in the mix of it, and now it's just kind of mixy, even though we know that Logan Paul isn't going to win the title. But it just goes to not necessarily knowing how to book him. You don't know how to write him in steady storylines.
Yeah, it's really gone downhill for him since he was the Intercontinental Champion. There's
Yeah,
no doubting that. Like he was a really strong looking champion. But yeah, and he's a fantastic wrestler. I mean, he's unbelievable, but they just don't seem to know what to do, or don't really know who to put him against next. Like they are dropping the ball in many ways in a lot of these things with the booking, and then sending him back towards Jay again for more. Yeah, just make up your mind, guys. Like I don't know, it's crazy.
I saw it. It was such a quiet separation between him and Ludwig Kaiser. Don't even know if Imperial is still in existence.
No.
Ludwig has kind of went on his own separate path, and so has Gunther. I would have loved to have seen some sort of feud between them two. Um, just something to show that it looked like they was leading up to that at one point, but
Mm.
they just kind of left it alone.
Yeah,
So
Kaiser has been dropped right down the card. Um,
yeah, I mean he had a little interview, kind of hinting at stuff, but I mean, it's like I said before, I will say it again. I do feel like a lot of the people in the writing room are TKO hires. and they don't necessarily know or understand wrestling to the extent to be able to write cohesive storylines that the WWE universe would like to follow. They don't. I
You
think a
think they
lot of
might be just writers that were brought in that used to work on sitcoms or something? Or
whoever they are
didn't work
not
at
doing a
all?
good job. It ain't doing a good job, I mean, it's not like the writers back then. Like we used to have like story lines. Like you had these wrestlers, they would
In
go
through
out
so,
there,
bro.
yeah, break into each other's homes. You would have them um getting married on TV. You would have the funerals, you would have, outside brawls. Like you had those things. And it just seems like it's so.
But is that not like you're talking about days, and I remember them well, but that was before the PG era. You
But
know,
no, they started doing it again. When you had LA Knight come to AJ's house, that was recent. When you had The
didn't have
Rock
the intensity.
beating up John, well, close enough. LA Knight got arrested. So
It's not
I
the
mean,
same though. It's not. It's not
well,
like
you
it.
can't
It's
go
like a
back.
Disney version of it. You know.
I expected more when you said Raw was going to Netflix. I expected it to feel like I am watching wrestling on Netflix. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel like that.
but it's like they're still trying to please sponsors, and they're
And you
afraid. They're afraid of going too far. Like we're
can.
getting a couple of f bombs and things like that, but they're still getting bleeped out or cut. There's different things that are actually getting cut. They're snipping it up in any way they can there.
Yeah,
So we're
but you
not
don't have
getting
to.
a proper version of it.
Well, you don't have to like go into rated R,
Yeah.
or TV 14. What I'm saying is, if you look at the way NXT is booked compared to the main roster, this is why NXT is at this point the best out of the three,
Mm.
because Sean knows how to appeal to a younger demographic. This is why it is on CW.
But do
You
you
know,
feel right? So in like Triple H's tenure so far as Papa H as the head man, do you think it's been a success or a failure?
I think it goes up and down. This is just one of the down periods, and then it'll come back up. It's just right now. It's to me.
Yeah, but do you think that up and down is down to him or is it others? Like he has the final say, I would imagine, on a lot of these different things that go on
Yeah.
screen.
Listen, I mean, I'm
He has
not
to be
necessarily
okay.
holding him responsible for everything, because at the end of the day, he got a boss. He got a, he can't just do everything with his approval. Like he have bosses above him as well.
The Rock.
So The Rock, Ari, and Nick, Triple H is still a middle guy.
The whole Rock
He might,
situation is a shit show anyway. That's been
and
a good
you
problem.
know, and we could talk about this forever, but it might upset people for me to say, I don't necessarily blame Triple H for everything. I don't, because if you ever worked at a job where you have a little, you know, like a pyramid of different titles, like Triple H, he's up there, but he still has tiers above him. He still have people he got to
Oh
answer
yeah.
to.
If you look at the org
So
chart, whatever it is, yeah, he's not the top rung of
yeah.
that.
So do I necessarily hold him accountable for everything bad and creative or everything good and creative.
But he is the head
Yes and no.
of it.
He is. But what if he agrees to something in creative and they say, you know what? We don't like it, Paul. We don't like it. Let's do something else. He's going to have to do something else because his boss has told him to. So therefore, I just think it's a matter of you just have a lot of people in a room and they don't necessarily, maybe they didn't grow up watching wrestling. Maybe they're not necessarily wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And they're just writing stories, and the stories is not, it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. The one good story on SmackDown right now is the Jade and Naomi, but then at the same time, that's kind of slacking off. Maybe it's because Bianca got injured and they're waiting for Bianca to come back.
No, I think they're trying to build Jade and Charlotte. So
that too.
So what's happening is before they actually finish one story, they're trying to build another one in parallel, and the arse falls out one or the other. This is kind of what's happening. Funnily enough, though, look, we could get into this for a long time discussing this. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll just devote an episode to it.
Yeah.
About the whole creative side of it. But there was one other match, the main match on Backlash, which was John Cena versus Randy Orton. I actually thought this was decent, and it was, the bit of nostalgia was nice. It descended into chaos towards the end. Little bit of madness there with how things played out. But there's a lot of complaining about John Cena and, you could do so much this, you could do so much that. His heel turn hasn't been a success. I say bullshit. I think he promised nothing to anybody, and that's exactly what we're getting, nothing. And he gave us his word, and he's doing exactly what he said he would.
Yeah, giving us the bare minimum after giving us everything for the last 25 years. And I get it. And, I know people don't necessarily understand the character that he's playing, but, I mean, you couldn't have said it better. It is a matter of him just giving the bare minimum. You see it in his, music is still the same, but, his video is just his name, and the fronts is very plain fronts. No.
Yeah, because he's not supposed to be trying to sell merch now, even though they are selling a bit of merch.
Yeah, it's well, Karrion Kross seems to be the one that's selling the most merch right now, which is very interesting. But we got to talk about that soon, because I'm glad. I was praying for Karrion.
I think there's big things to come there for him.
I was praying for him because the way people was getting let go left and right, I just wanted him to be safe. And just by him being able to portray himself as himself, it related to the fans. The fans love him. They love his wife. They're buying his merch. It's the top selling shirts. And, that's what that is a prime example of you running, the men that run the company, not necessarily knowing everything and just allowing your wrestlers to be themselves.
Yeah.
Let them be themselves.
Exactly.
But as in for the match, I thought it was a good match. Of course, I think the highlight of that match was the end at the press conference, where R-Truth is thrown through the table. And bummed out that people wasn't really reacting at the press conference as I thought they should. You just saw a man get thrown through a table. It should have been a loud gasp, but nothing.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
very
that's it. But it's
quiet.
especially since Cena was our truth's childhood hero, and it kind of lines it up, I think, for Saturday night's main event, which is just over a week's time, which
Yes.
should be quite interesting too. Um, but yeah, the match, as I said, I thought it was fine. I think people are missing the point about John Cena, and I think it's delivering on that. The finish, it was never going to be clean, was it? Orton was never going to win this match either. So it was just nice to see him taking out a lot of people with the RKOs. He got a lot of those in anyway. Um,
Hmm.
so overall, I thought it was a half decent pay per view, PLE, whatever you want to call it. But especially with like people were complaining about WrestleMania, but look, there's no pleasing everybody. There's always going to be problems.
Right.
And I think it's we're just getting into Money in the Bank season now, which would be in about a month's time, I think. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, we do have that. We have um the AAA show
Mhm.
coming up. We also have Underground
Yeah,
with NXT, which should be good.
it should be good. Yeah,
Will Joe Hendry lose his title to Trick Williams? And will Trick Williams be the first NXT superstar to win a TNA title, the biggest title in the whole promotion?
mm.
I don't know, but it's looking like it. It's looking like he possibly could. It's looking
Yeah,
like Trick could possibly win that title and be the first NXT wrestler, and we'll finally get that crossover between both companies.
yeah. No, definitely. And I think Joe has been lined up anyway to go to WWE.
I
According to that.
knew when Triple H first laid eyes on him, he fell in love with him, and he just knew. I don't care when your contract ends, you're coming straight here. I think they fell in love with him the first time they saw him. So yeah, it's not even a matter of if; it's just a matter of when.
Yeah,
When
no,
he'll be
Joe has put in the groundwork. He's you know, he hasn't been an overnight success or like a 10-year overnight success, I suppose.
there. Right.
But he has put in the hard work. He's wrestled here in Ireland. He's wrestled in a lot of different places, and yeah, I think he deserves it now. And we saw the pop. He is pop. He is very popular, as we saw at WrestleMania, and I think he deserves it. I think he deserves
Yeah.
it. So long may that continue. Um, there's been a
Yes.
few things announced just for SmackDown. I know that's coming up in just over an hour thereabouts. Um, few late matches announced there. The Money in the Bank qualifiers are on. There's Mitchin versus Chelsea Green, and geez, I want to say who's the other person in that match. It's gone out of my head. I don't know. That's crazy. Mitch and Chelsea Green. That's crazy. Anyway,
You
that's
know, they know. Well, you know what? Maybe that's all. Maybe that's a sign to say, okay, we have spoken about WWE for most of the show.
I think so. Yeah.
We are supposed to highlight the indies.
Yes,
So
indeed.
let's give the indies their proper time.
Yeah.
Um, I know there's been some things going on out there where you are. I just want to briefly mention that. Um, what is you have Gigi Dolan and Priscilla and Elena Black, formerly known as Cora Jade. They will be doing some shows this summer for GCW. Actually, I think somebody got a show coming up within the next couple of days, but they will be doing they signed for some dates for GCW. So, these ladies, they're not staying without a job for very long. They are hitting the ground running, and I couldn't be more happy for them. Um Apparently, Shotzi is more than likely going to be debuting at MLW next month here in New York. I already have my ticket, so it'll be
Mm.
exciting to see her. Um, if she does debut that night. Um, we do have a couple of more things. Braun Strowman has a new TV show coming
Okay.
up
Yeah.
with the comedian Tiffany Haddish. Um, my girl Jakara Jackson. She debuted her new name. Uh, it skips me right now, but
There you go. Yeah.
she got some things in store too. She had posted a picture of herself, which looked like in a recording studio. So she is multitasking. She is
Brilliant.
doing a little bit of everything. So you
Yeah.
know they are definitely bouncing back from their release in
Oh,
WWE. They
this is
are, they're getting back out there.
they'll always find work, and there's hope there that maybe we'll see some of these stars that have been released actually make it over to Ireland to some of our promotions, or the UK, to some of the many promotions that they have there. It kind of opens up opportunities for that. And just in terms of what's happening over here, we have RCW, which is based in Cork, and they have their Super X event tomorrow down there. And there's lots of exciting matches taking place as part of the Super X event. One
Mhm.
match actually has Rio. She's in possibly one of her final matches here for a while. She's taken on Session Martina, and because I believe Rio is signed up to WWE in some form or other. That's the word on the street anyway. So I do know she appeared on one of the shows that they had in the UK in recent times as an EMT. So I think she's been going through the whole tryout stages, but she has a match there in Cork tomorrow, which should be really, really good. She's appeared there on a number of occasions, and there's also appearances by Raven Creed. She's a top female wrestler here in Ireland. She's definitely one to look out for. And there's many more appearing there, such as Michael May, Jay Steins, Terry Thatcher, and guys like that. And
Mm.
then we have Hard Knocks in Limerick the following weekend, then on May 25th. And there's plenty going on there also with them. Really, really good shows to attend. And just tonight, the news came through there before we came on. Um, LJ Cleary, Lyra's fiance, himself, and Rich Swan, who you'll remember Rich Swan from WWE and so on. They tagged tonight in Fight Factory Pro Wrestling, and they won the Irish titles, the Irish tag team titles there
Okay.
tonight. So Rich Swan has been in Ireland all week, and he's been delivering seminars at the Blackout Pro Wrestling Academy, which is aligned with the Hard Knocks um, Pro Wrestling in Limerick. And so Fight Factory Pro had their Grapple Games event tonight, and that's where the guys were. They fought the Saviors of Destiny, who were the champions, Andy Steele and Owen Richards, and won the belts. So that's great. I don't know any of the other results from there. I just saw that shared before we came on here. But yeah, the Blackout Pro Wrestling Academy, definitely worth checking out. They run beginners boot camps here also, and of course the Irish School of Professional Wrestling and the Fight Factory Pro, and they're all doing their bit for the next generations of Irish wrestlers. And they have a proven track record, of course, with some of the guys we've sent abroad up to now. So yeah, things are looking up for the indie scene here, and that's I know we spoke about it before, Megan. It is something that I'd like us to, to get a bit deeper into, and bring some of that news from the indie scene, and a bit
Yes,
more of a spotlight going forward. We do like to cover the WWE and some of the big things like Backlash and things like that, but I just do feel that the indie stuff needs more of a spotlight, and that's what I hope we can do going forward.
absolutely. And on the subject of indie wrestling promotions, not all news is good news.
Mm,
And for those who have been, tuning into Twitter and other social media accounts, you might have been made aware of the allegations that has been floating around about All Caribbean Wrestling, ACW, and one of their uh, affiliates or employees, JB Cool, and a lot of Black women have been
mm,
coming out to speak out on a lot of um, the disconduct between him and themselves, and how he has made them feel uncomfortable in different situations.
okay.
Uh, Maserati, Maya World, Jocelyn Navarro, um, quite a few people, quite a few women has come out. I don't know everything exclusively,
Yeah.
just reading a lot of what they have come out to say, but
This
um,
this is them coming out in their own words and putting it up on.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Um, believe women.
Mm,
That is how I feel about it. Believe women. All these women are not lying on this man. Of course, allegedly, allegedly,
oh yeah, like
allegedly. You
the
know, don't want to get sued here, but
mm,
um, believe what they're saying, because it's too many people in general. Even though right now I'm specifically focusing on women
yeah.
in certain work fields, workplaces, work environments, who don't necessarily feel comfortable to share what they are going through. And I'm gonna support these women to the end. I feel as though that's what they need.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to be criticized. They don't need to be ostracized. They don't need to be blackballed. They don't need to be demonized, questioned. Just support them,
Yeah.
you know. And I
Yeah.
just wouldn't have felt right without sharing my thoughts on it, being who I am, and this platform. So
No, by all means, that's a really important thing, I think, to come out and just, a show of support. They may like never see any of this, but I think, for anyone we have viewing this, it's just good to bring it to everybody's attention anyway.
oh
What
yeah.
actually goes on here?
Well, I've spoken to Jocelyn.
Mm,
Um, I have without saying too much, but I've been in contact with a few people, so you
yeah.
know they know that the support comes from the heart. So
Yeah.
as more things come out, I will be talking more about it. Um, Simply because it happens too often, and maybe that will encourage other people, other women, other men, um, who are in similar situations to speak out
Yeah.
on their specific situations, and put an end to this shit.
Yeah,
honestly.
because I always think back to, when things like that are said, poor Ashley Massaro, and I think it was
Yes.
her birthday. Was it yesterday? I saw it shared quite a lot online, or it was either her anniversary or her birthday. And all she endured, that only really came out when she passed away.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been far too much of that going on in the past, and hopefully, just bringing attention to it will help in some way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So, yes, as I said, you know, this is not a moment to share misinformation,
hmm,
um, but definitely show these women your support. A lot of them feel as though now that they have spoken out, it will jeopardize their careers, or they feel like there will be some type of retaliation against them for it. So just continue to show them support because
yeah,
that is what they need right now.
definitely. And just speaking about different things, I did see that Jim Ross, JR,
Yes.
is struggling at the moment with his health. I think he's been diagnosed with colon cancer. So
Yeah.
he's previously beaten cancer, and it looks like he has another fight on his hands. But Jr. Fantastic. He's the goat of
Yes.
commentary for me, and I think he's around 73 now. He's just getting a bit older, but hopefully he'll be around for many years to come yet.
Yes. Yes. I had saw the news, and I mean this week has been something else. It
Yeah,
has been something else. There's a lot of things happening in the world outside of wrestling. And so you use wrestling to kind of take your mind off of real life problems. And
and
there's
then there's
more
things happening.
problems
Yeah,
within
yeah,
the wrestling world, too. So,
that's it.
um, you know, all I can say is I hope that everyone is taking care of themselves.
Definitely.
Um, if you need anybody to talk to, make sure that you reach out to people. Um, Times is hard. Life can be hard. We're all doing this thing called life together, and you shouldn't feel as
Yeah.
though you have to do it alone. So make sure
No,
that you reach out to
definitely.
people, and you know, and you know me, I don't necessarily even say these type of things, but it just felt like it needed to be said because this week has been a very hard week. It has been a
Yeah,
hard week.
everybody's fighting their own battles, in some way, physically, mentally, whatever. And I just think, yeah, it's definitely important just to speak up and chat to people or do whatever. Um,
Yeah, yes, it is. But
but
we have
also,
a lot coming up.
yeah,
Real quickly. And of course, John Moxley retained his title. Uh, Gabe Kidd helped him retain his title against Samoa Joe. This past week on Dynamite.
hmm,
Um, Not really sure what's going on between uh, Hangman Adam Page and Will Ospreay, but they're kind of beefing with each other, so that makes for
Will
good
Ospreay likes
TV.
running his mouth anyway. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, we didn't get into that, but I will tell you this though. When Will did say that he felt like he was on his worst day, he's better than any WWE wrestler. I had to ponder on that because I was quick to jump on it and say, "Oh, he's
Come
tripping."
and prove it, Will.
But I think there might be one person who could give Will a run for his money,
Hmm.
and I think it's Seth Rollins. Seth
Yeah,
Rollins. I feel like because look, Will is a high flyer. He's a grappler. He likes to do flips and all that other stuff.
yeah. Look, he's fantastic. Yeah,
But the thing
That's good.
about Seth is, it's like I feel like at some point the match will become a shoot match. I do think at some point Seth and Will start fighting for real. And it might make a good match, because if anybody remember when Will was kind of hinting at coming to WWE, Seth wanted to be the first one to put hands on him. Seth wanted to be the first one to break him in
Mm.
WWE. And of course, he opted out and he went for AEW, but Seth wanted him. And you know what? I can agree. I can agree to that.
Dragonov is great, and hopefully
I
he'll
can
be
agree
back
to that.
quite soon.
Yeah, I hope so too,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been a lot of things happening in AEW. Mercedes lost her strong women's
Tony
title.
Storm was pinned, wasn't she?
I think so. No,
I mean, yeah, yeah.
I think so.
Right.
Sky Blue returned after being injured for a couple of months. Um, MJF joined Hurt Syndicate.
That's right. I saw that. I saw
Don't know why.
I
Don't
saw
know why.
the old
But
the Tom. It was
yes, it was
yeah.
so stupid. But yes, he has joined Hurt Syndicate. Let's see how long that lasts. Also, Swerve Strickland got sneakers. They're $160. Y'all could go check that out if y'all wanna drop.
Nike, are they?
Probably,
Yeah.
probably. But if y'all wanna, go and help the
Who
man,
knows? Who knows?
uh, and
But yeah,
buy
no,
his
there's so much
sneakers.
happening. Rhea Ripley's not happy either. She's tweeting. Everybody's getting their thoughts out there, and it's great. It's been a tough week, as we say, but there's also been a lot happening. And then, of course, we're building up to all the big events over the summer between AEW and WWE, and all the fantastic indie events too. So much.
You're not gonna come on, black man. You gotta support another black man.
Air swerves.
You gotta support him. You gotta swerve when you drive. You gotta support him.
But yeah, it's
What would
crazy
Dr.
time.
Umar say? What would Kevin Samuel say? You gotta support him. But yes. Oh, of course, Miss Indy Hartwell is the new world's women's champion for House of Glory. She has Megan Bain had relinquished her title, and Indy picked
Megan
up the
Bain.
title.
Love that lady, Megan Bain.
She is, yeah, she's a big deal.
She
Oh,
will be.
had
Will be a big
to
deal.
take that down. But yes, yeah, no, she's a very big deal. Also,
Oh, Nikita Lyons on TNA. Yeah, yeah. I've seen that.
yes, she tag teamed with
My God.
Masha Slamovich. Also, uh, something else happened. It was right at the yes, Willow Nightingale has resigned with
Brilliant.
TNA. So yes, it's been a lot in
TNA
the
is on
wrestling
fire though.
world.
It is. TNA is doing really well. Tessa Blanchard. I'm reading out things. Yeah, put on a
Uh,
good match with Nikita.
yeah. You know, Tesla, Tessa, Tesla, Tessa. She's a talented wrestler,
Yeah,
and I'll just leave it at that. She is a talented wrestler.
you trying to say she's not a nice human being? But
Uh,
anyway,
oh, I don't have to say it. The world says it every time she comes
uh,
out.
I'm still trying to get over the fact that there was some talented wrestlers released and Nikita Lyons is still flying around. But anyway,
Well, I'm not going to touch that. I'm sure Nikita is well deserving for her position still in NXT.
I
And
was
she
I
is
was
going,
I was trying to draw you out there. I was
yeah, no,
yes,
no, no,
I
no,
wanted to
no,
get
no,
there.
no. I am a girl's girl. I'm all for women, especially the women wrestlers.
Good to hear.
I
Good
enjoy
to hear.
Nikita. I enjoy Nikita. It's something about her that just
Was she a music star?
she wants to be.
All right, okay.
I can't tell you if she's any good at it, but she wants to be. And my mom always told me you could be anything you want to be,
Okay.
whether you're good at it or not.
Barney used to tell us that when we were kids too. We could be anything we wanted to be.
Yeah, well, and he was right. I mean,
Yeah,
this was a toy dinosaur that became a big dinosaur. So
okay.
I don't know, but you know,
And you're in
I
the
can't.
land of opportunity over there in the US anyway, so
We have a lot of non-talented musicians that are on the charts right now, so that speaks a lot about talent.
mm, okay.
You know, you have a lot of people that cannot sing without auto tune, and they are topping the charts. They're terrible singing live, and yet they're getting all the awards. So, does that speak on talent here? I don't know. You know,
Shawn Michaels was very good doing his theme tune. That was
Uh, you know, Sean, Sean, Sean. He's
what a
So
tune.
yeah,
Jimmy Hart wrote that, didn't he? So
yes.
yeah.
But listen, they seem to be doing something with Nikita. On top of her, we still have the likes of um Jada Parker, who, I don't know if people really necessarily respect her wrestling skills. I don't think she's a bad wrestler.
I actually
I
thought that
think
tune,
I,
the big
I
show
think
thing. So
oh he
yeah. I
he
used to
don't
think that was the big show as well. That was
he that's what I'm saying. He don't.
no, no.
Ah, interesting.
That's
But
it.
you know, we still got John. John Word Life. Thugonomics. Still remember that song.
Awesome.
His little white chain around his neck. But yes.
There's another episode you could just devote to all the different theme tunes, you know. Um,
Yeah. Well,
Jim, you want to hit me with that Triple H?
yeah. Well, if we could get Jim Johnston back, if we could get him back. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. One thing about John Cena is that John Cena is a talented musician. I'm guessing at this point in his life, that's like a past life for him.
Will he
Like he
take
just,
Nikita under his wing and show her the ropes?
mm, I don't know if that can be toy. You know, I don't know, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not
Right.
knocking nobody's dreams.
Fantastic tune, yeah.
If she wants to be a musician, baby, be the best musician you can be. Doesn't mean I like your music, but you go out there and you be the best musician you could be.
Dunk dunk. Yeah, no, that's it. Brilliant stuff. I think that concludes
And
all we have for this week. On that bombshell,
we
we'll
still love you, Nikita.
yeah,
We just a little confused by some of the
definitely.
things you do, but
Nothing only love there.
we still supporting your girl.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant stuff. As always, guys, thank you everyone that joined us here and interacted. And we do really appreciate a like and a follow and a share and
Yes.
everything you can do for us. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back again same time next week. Lots more to discuss. Lots more plans coming up. Different things. So
Yes, because next week we will be leading up to um Saturday night's main event,
yeah,
Underground, Double or Nothing,
yeah.
all happening next weekend.
There's a lot
So
coming up. Yeah. So we'll be back and looking forward to it. So
yes,
everybody, make sure to enjoy that weekend. Take
please
care.
do. Bye.
Bye bye.